Hey guys, it's Bobby Legs, and welcome to another episode of Bobby Legs Loves Watches. And today I have the pleasure of doing a full review of the Lorier Gemini. I did a unboxing and initial thoughts video a couple weeks ago. I'll put a link of that in the description below. But before we start the review, please remember to like and subscribe and click that bell icon so you get notifications when I upload videos. I love making these videos, and I hope you like them too. So here we have a Laurier, which is a micro brand based out of New York. At least the creators are based out of there. I'm not really sure, 100% sure where the watches are actually made. I'm sure if anybody knows out there, please put in the comments below. But it's a husband and wife team, Lauren and I believe Lorenzo Ortega. They are the creators of this brand, and I think stylistically, this vintage inspired style of design is just, I think they knock it out of the park. I'm not a huge micro brand guy with watches. I don't dislike them. I don't know. I just don't gravitate to them. But every time I see a Laurier, before I bought this one, I was like, I gotta get one of those, and they sell out very quickly. This version of the Gemini, this Panda dial, sold out in 4 or 5 minutes, and then the other two versions sold out very, very quickly. These watches are kind of hard to get on their site. They're always sold out. They make it the exact right amount to create a frenzy or demand when the watches are released. So kudos to them. So let's get into the specs. We have a 49 millimeter case diameter, 10.2 millimeter case thickness, and then you add this 2.4 millimeter dome plexiglass crystal. Yes, I said plexiglass. I guess to go continue with the vintage theme. 47 millimeter lug to lug. Lug width is 20 millimeters. The case and the bracelet is made out of 316L marine grade stainless steel. We have a water resistance of this watch of 50 meters. It is not a screw down crown. It is a manual wind, and I'll go more into the movement in a bit. 24 click bezel, and I'll go into that a little bit further as well in the video. I think, there's no real description of what the bezel is made out of, but I'm guessing it is aluminum, and it's this thin coined edged bezel. More on that in a little bit. We have BGW9 Luminous Super Luminova, which is basically on the little pip dots over here on the hour sticks, and in the hand you have this minute hand, which is, I guess, let me zoom in a little bit here. I guess it's a Dauphine style hand, and then this kind of Dauphine slash arrow for the hour hand. The seconds hand, I mean the chronograph seconds hand here is stark black, and then as you can see on the dial, this white dial, you have what is described, I've heard other people described as chevrons, for three little chevrons there for their logo, Laurier chronograph. Gemini at the bottom here in blue, and underneath it manual. On the left you have a running seconds subdial. On the right a minute subdial. So every time when the chronograph is engaged, and then you just hear the pop right here, that minute track will snap over a minute. So I'll keep this going while I talk about the watch further. So one of the nice things about this watch that I like right off the bat is the bracelet. The bracelet starts off at 20 millimeters, and then it tapers down. The clasp is actually fairly solid. Push button, dual push button release on the clasp here. Let me see what I can do here. Sorry guys, having a little trouble. Push button deployment here. It's just I'm looking at this via the camera, so it's a little bit hard. Sorry. And then you do have their chevron symbol right there on the clasp. The minute hand is about to hit 12 o'clock position, and you see, boom, over there on the right, we do have it switching over a minute. So like most chronographs, you click the top again to stop, and then the bottom here, pusher here, snaps it back. So let's talk a little bit about the movement. The movement is a Seagull S19 mechanical movement. It's a hand wound movement. We'll take their word for it because the case back, there is a case back here, and it's fairly sterile. There's actually nothing much going on here. Would have Okay, two things. I would have liked to seen since we already have 50 millimeters water resistance, why not have an exhibition case back? But if you're not going to do that, there's really nothing going on here. There's no etching. There's nothing. Would have been nice to see at least something there. Perhaps they felt maybe they'll leave you some space here to personalize it. I wouldn't do that, but it would have been nice to say, Laurier, and maybe say something about the movement and 50 water meters resistance, whatever. But like I said, it would have been nice. Not a deal breaker, but a case back, an exhibition case back would have been nice on that. So back again to the chronograph now. This is a integrated chronograph movement, so it's not modular. So there's no base movement here, and then they put on top of it the complication of the chronograph. It's all integrated, which from what I understand, how they describe it on their site, it's easier to build a modular chronogram, but it's harder to service. So the manual integrated chronograph. Oh, by the way, I left out. Has a column wheel. It's column wheel, so it sports one column wheel movement there. Part of it, part of the movement. This kind of chronograph is much easier to service, allegedly, than something that's more modular. So just so you know. So like I said, it is a Seagull S19. Now it's the descendant of the Venus 175, which Seagull had, from what I understand, purchased the equipment from Venus, which was a movement maker years ago. So it's basically has that heritage there. So that's pretty interesting. So it's a 19 joule. It's got 21,600 beats per hour. Now, trying to do a little research on this movement in regards to power reserve, I've seen anywhere, depending on the amount of joules that you had, and it wasn't really clear on the power reserve on a 19 joule. I couldn't find it in my brief search, and if anybody has information on that, please put that in the comments below. But you're looking somewhere between, I'm just going to say around the low 40s in hours in power reserve. I saw one site claim 51 hours, but I think that had an extra joule. I don't know if, I'm not an expertise on movement, so I don't know if those extra joules really help with power reserve or not. But it was a little hazy on the power reserve. The Laurier, they claim that this case is specially made to fit the movement. So that's interesting. That's cool to know. You do have drilled holes here in the lugs here for easy strap changing. Now back to the bracelet again. Very, very comfortable bracelet. The links articulate very, very smoothly. So it's very, very comfortable on wrist. Let me put this on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. I had to take a couple links here or there. It does have two micro adjusts. But as you can see, it's a very, very handsome watch. Really fits really well on my 6 3/4 inch wrist, and probably few, like maybe even a ½ inch smaller than mine, maybe even down to a 6 inch wrist, 6 1/4 inch wrist. This watch will look awesome on you. So I think, I talk about in my channel in previous videos, I talk about price, and the MSRP on this one is $499, and I talk about value for what you pay. And I know you can go out there and get a Seagull 1963 with the same movement and with a case back, same water resistance, for probably around $300, maybe give or take a little bit less. But what I think what you get here with the Lorier is just this impeccable style, this beautiful looking watch. You get this fantastic bracelet, which is really helps make the watch. You really don't see this kind of quality um, in this price range. I mean, look, there's a lot of watches out there in this $500 range that have great bracelets. I give you that, but this one to me is super comfortable, and the way the light really plays off of it is great. So it's brushed, it's satin looking bracelet and case. You do have, let me zoom in here a little bit, some polished beveled edges over here, but really nicely done. So a couple things, they have a lot of people will gripe about the plexiglass at this price point, and I hear you, but I think the plexiglass really kind of adds to the vintage feel of this watch. And if you replicate this with a sapphire crystal, the price goes up, I would imagine. Um, I'm a little disappointed, as you probably could tell earlier, about the case back. If the Seagull 1963 can throw in an exhibition case back on their watch, I feel that these guys could have done the same thing. I mean, maybe it's partly due because they say they made this case especially made for the movement. I really don't know the answer, but you know, um, when you look at the case back of that Seagull 1963, that movement is beautiful, and I think this doing that would have really taken this watch to another notch. But overall, I'm really happy with this watch, and we'll see. This is probably the last time I'm going to see this watch for another 3 or 4 months. I'm a part of a group that does a watch tour, and I'm going to send this out. And another concern I do have about this watch is its durability. It does feel a little dainty, you know. So we'll see how that lasts, and when I get it back from this tour, where about 12 guys will actually be testing it out for a week at a time, and some will do reviews, and some of them are not YouTube creators. We'll see how it holds up. I've already picked up a nice rubber rally strap, Fluco strap, which actually looks great on this watch. Um, but before I leave, let's do a little loom shot here for you guys. Um, so as you can see, I mean, it's not going to scream loom here, it's actually for some reason it's not really picking the camera's not picking it up as well, but it's okay. But look, at the end of the day, this is not a dive watch. um, this is not a Seiko. This is a chronograph, a racing chronograph. Oh, one last thing too, sorry, I'm all over the place today. But you do have this 24 click 12-hour bezel, which is nice in a sense that, so you only have 30 seconds, 30 minutes here. So if you want to go and time something for over 30 minutes, I guess what you can do is you can do one click over here, and that's at your 1 o'clock or 12:30 position. Let me get over here where it's a little bit brighter. And then if you go into an hour, you um, take it to this position over here. That's the 1 o'clock, and so forth, and to 2. So you can do multiple hours of time tracking. Also, this could double as a dual time, so a dual time zone. So if you're traveling, you can use this watch as well. Um, the so this watch, it is a little bit hard for me to grip sometimes. You know, it's and I think it's partly because two things. Well, obviously you have this thin coin edge um, bezel, which is not necessarily the problem. I think the problem is if this was like a 120 click bezel, which it wouldn't be because it's a chronograph and it shouldn't be, it would be easier to go through it. But you know, if you don't have the strongest grip in the world, like today I did a little bit of heavy lifting, so my grip is shot. It's not the easiest to turn, but not a deal breaker. You know, this I'm kind of nitpicking here because it's not. It's just something I noticed. It's not the worst bezel that I've ever used. It's not the great. It's not the best, but it's not bad. So look, I think for what you're paying for here, um, it, I think to get the manual chronograph movement, the styling, the beauty of the watch, the great bracelet, I think it's rightly priced, $4.99. Anything more, anything less, probably would not, um, do it justice. But I think it's rightly priced at $4.99. And we know it is in a sense because every time they put it up or they put this into market, it's sold out very quickly. You know what I mean? So the demand is there for that price point. So it's probably priced exactly where it should be. Anyway, guys, I know I rambled off and went in different tangents here on this review. There's a lot to be said about this watch, and I just wanted to make sure I got all of it in. If I miss anything, please let me know. If you have one of these, let me know. Let me know how you feel about it. If you don't have one of these, let me know if you would buy one of these. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.